All right. So I get started today in regards to today's practice. Tevin Jenkins, no change from yesterday, just the same thing with back tightness. So he'll be working through that. And then yesterday with Hicks, right? I know that's a $1,000,000 question right now, and the way we do this with the talking in the morning before practice, he had some soreness in his foot. Yeah, and so what happened is the reason why I didn't bring it up yesterday to y'all in the morning was because I was sitting right here when it was going on. So I go right out to practice, and that was all going on with our trainers and with our doctors. And so he will be out. I'm pretty sure he's going to be out there today at practice, so you should feel good there. We just want to make sure that everything was good, and that looks like that's the case. So that's that. I thought practice yesterday, being our first time out there and getting through the motions of the team periods, the 7-on-7, the individual, et cetera. I thought our guys did a pretty good job of being smart, but also playing fast. There's some good film now to finally put on tape and correct with each other and see where we're at. And again, we have another couple days of this until we get to the pads here after the day off, or a few days after that. So with that, I'll open it up.
Matt, why not provide an update on Hicks yesterday afternoon, just to clear it up?
Just again, that I think for us, knowing that it wasn't, a big deal, that was it. So there was really no issue, and we were working through all that stuff, and it was as simple as that.
I guess you would consider yesterday Justin's first real training camp practice. Yeah. How'd you think it went?
I thought he played well. I mean, he made some smooth progressions in his reads. We have a 3-step game where he went inside out, worked it right down the line, and I think it wasn't something where he did a quick twitch and was able to all of a sudden react. I think he kind of knew right at the snap where he was going with the ball, third in his progression. So he had a couple of those, working his footwork and his timing. As y'all can see, it's a little different out there when guys are going full bore and they're getting around your knees, they're getting around your arm, and it's different. So it picks up a little bit, and I think that's good for him to be able to handle that and see that.
Matt, with Akeem, you guys last year gave him regular vet days, all that sort of thing. What's the plan for him in terms of just pacing things as camp goes on?
Yeah, well, really for all of our guys, I think that's one of the things that we've done a good job with this summer. Myself, Ryan, Andre, Jen, and Jason of putting together a plan for these players like Akeem and guys that you have to, at times we called them vet days, and we're looking at calling it load management now and how we deal with that, and they're all a little bit specific. And so we'll have a plan in place for training camp for those guys, and then we'll have a plan in place too during the season on how we want to do that. But that's all a part of this. I think that's a lot of teams deal with that, and it's just what I think is important is making sure that, as we go throughout this year, when those days do come, that they're out there with the team and they're not just, inside. I think it's important to be outside with them.
Matt, yesterday you...
Go ahead.
Yeah. Days, it's early in camp, but at what point do you get to be concerned about Tevin with a back injury?
Well, I think, the number one thing when you look at all this is for Tevin, we want to be able to see what he can do with pads on, right? We understand that. And the only way to do that is to be available and be out of practice. But at the same point in time, as we're going through this back issue that he's having, we want to make sure that we're doing it the right way by taking care of him, listening to our doctors, our trainers, and then just taking it day by day. And in the meantime, what that's doing is giving other guys opportunities to get reps at left tackle. And so for me, I know Tevin, trust me, he wants to be out there, but we have to control him from himself. And that's going to be what we do here as we go through training camp. But obviously, the sooner the better.
Yeah, yesterday you stopped the 7-on-7 drill, brought the team in.
Yeah.
It was for a 2nd and 10. You've done that before, but with 2 new quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I'm curious just the value of that drill, stopping it like that and having that approach.
So the little bit of the difference, Adam, that we've done yesterday versus what I've done in the past. In the past, it's been more one-on-one stuff with wide receivers, tight ends, and even the kicker, the Augusta silence, right? This here is more of what we're calling a sudden change. So every day, we'll do it again today. We'll have a situation. They don't know what it is. The coordinators don't know. The coaches don't know. The players don't know. And they don't know when it's coming. So we happened to do it in 7-on where the O-line and D-line are down at the other end. They come together. Shoot, they didn't even know what was going on. And we had to explain to them, it's 2nd and 10, play it out. If it goes to 3rd and 3, play 3rd and 3 and get your call, you know what I mean? So today we'll have a situation where we might, I don't know, I'm waiting to get it, but we might go down to the 1-yard line and do a goal line. It might be 2 versus 2 instead of 1 versus 1. So it's just sudden change.
I know you guys keep meticulous track of the reps the quarterbacks are getting. It seemed like that Andy and Justin are getting about the same just with the respective teams.
Yeah.
How long do you keep that going for? At some point, is Andy going to have to just start getting more because he'll be the one guy?
It might look like they're getting the same, Jeff, but Andy's getting slightly a few more. So when you look at it, for instance, if there was 100 snaps, he could get 100, and it might be Justin getting 90. So and then over time, it ends up adding to be more, which is probably what you're asking. It's not equivalent. So there might be some reps, some periods where you see, hey, he got 4 and he got 4, but then all of a sudden the next one it's he got 5 and he got 4, and they add up. So that's how that goes.
Matt, that wild card idea you were just talking about that you've been doing in practice.
The what?
Kind of a wild card idea, just throwing.
Yeah.
That's to replicate the suddenness with which that can happen in a game.
It's to break up the monotony of the drill we're in, right? So the O-line and D-line, for instance, are down doing all their one-on-ones. They're not now because of pads, but they're in their deal. And then the coaches are in their mindset, are teaching them. And then it just kind of brings the team together. It'll always be team stuff. It won't be individual. It could, I guess. I could go one-on-one stuff to have some fun, but it's really just to break it up. And then also just to get everybody to think, okay, what's the deal? Look at the scoreboard. Oh, it's this. Let's go play ball, and let's be competitive. Yesterday, we didn't really put any consequence on what happens because of time and reps, but eventually, as we go here, we might have some fun with some push-ups or up-downs or et cetera.
Matt, what is the value of ones versus ones, and what is the debate coaches like yourself have, whether to go ones versus ones or against ones versus twos in training camp?
The value is that is the level of what they're playing. So ones versus ones pretty much states itself. But where I think why the coaches switch it to 1v2 and 2v1 is when we go live. And so when you're going live, you're switching it up a little bit for pretty much the ability of your ones to probably have a little bit of advantage during a live period. The other part of it is this is when you don't have pads on. The ones and the vets usually have a much better idea of the pace of the play, of staying away from the quarterback and not blowing each other up and doing a bunch of stunts and games and everything. And they understand the rules of engagement, so they can go and show that, and then the twos go up and go next and learn. But for the most part, it's good. It's competition levels against each other.
Will that change when you have pads on?
No, it's been that way forever. It's 1v1 in all the thud stuff that we call. If there's pads on and we're not tackling, it's 1v1. If we ever go live, which we will this year in training camp, it'll be 1v2 and 2v1. Yep.
I know you want tough decisions in the depth charts, but ideally, how soon would you like to see somebody kind of emerge as a front runner in some of these positions like slot receiver, corner, nickel, kick returner?
I'm in no rush right now for that. I think our coaches have a pretty good plan and idea of how they want to evaluate, and we'll have competition and work. We get together, if not every night, every other night, and talk about everybody's reps. Our scouts are watching them every day. We as a staff get together and talk, and then you'll start to see some separation. And the other part too is we all know you got to be available, right? So if you're to be able to play, you got to be available, and that's a part of this thing too. Yeah, pretty cool story, and again, he leads by his actions. Last year, the chance he had to get in there and play, he took advantage of it, and the game means a lot to him. The guys look to him as a leader. He's super smart. He's quarterback's best friend, which is neat. And he went ahead this offseason and put on some weight, some good weight, and now I think to really be able to anchor in there at that position. Making Mike ID calls in the run game and pass game and the different things he does, that's simple to him. Now it's just communicating with the new guys on the line and building that rapport. But how do you not like, a success story like that of a guy that was not drafted to be able to come in here and do that? And Coach Castillo, now, you see some of these younger guys too, right? With with Simmons and with, BT and these other guys that we're really looking forward to seeing what they can do here and the chances they get in training camp to develop.
Back to Tevin a little bit. We saw him doing some stuff off to the side.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, the goal for him is to get him to that live action.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, get him back out at practice, and then once we get to that live and where you're going after, you guys can see in practice yesterday. Robert Quinn and Khalil are coming off that edge now. Robert Quinn is doing well. You put on the tape and watch him. He's rolling right now, and I got to actually tell him to pull the heck back a little bit because he's kind of getting in that throwing lane of the quarterback. We had a couple close ones yesterday, so if you see me freak out today, it's because of that. But yeah, Tevin needs that. He's got to be able to have that. But we got a lot of days here ahead of us, and we got to make sure we're doing it the right way. And again, just want to make it loud and clear, he wants to be out here bad, but we're like holding him back. We got to do it this way.
Matt, what
Demir Bird made some nice catches yesterday.
Yeah.
What do you like about him? What do you expect from him? What type of role do you see him?
Well, he's just he's easy, and when I say that, like he does what he's supposed to do. He's simple. He knows his role. He's fast. He's a smooth runner. He doesn't look like Marquise. You can really see and feel that speed. But Demir, when he's out there catching the ball and he goes, he glides. He's a glider. So he's learning the offense. He's trying to really figure out his strengths and our strengths, and I'm proud of him right now.
Guys getting in throwing lanes. I noticed Andy changing his arm angles.
Yeah.
Is that something that he's known for, that he does well, or is that just sort of a one-off yesterday?
No, I'm sure he's been doing it his whole career, but I know the one you're talking about. That was one with Robert kind of getting in his way, and he came to the side and hit it. But a lot of these guys have that, and they just naturally do it. So I thought Andy put together a really good day yesterday. I thought he was aggressive with his mindset. First play of 7 on down the sideline on a go ball, and Marquise went up and made a play. So we want to keep that going and let these guys keep growing. But for day one, we were happy with how it went.
Matt, at this time last year, you guys were so excited about Mooney, and just
Yeah.
kind of it seemed like it was apparent to you already that he was going to be special as a rookie. What is the expectation of him in his second year to make? Is this when the next step usually happens for guys who are special?
Yeah, for him to come in here and have the amount of receptions that he had and opportunities he had last year, I think we all knew deep down inside he has that ability to do it. We weren't sure if he would do it, and he did. But to everybody that knows Darnell Mooney, you realize that it doesn't surprise you because he's as hard of a worker as there is, and he cares more than anybody. So, and he's following a guy like A-Rob as his mentor. They're attached at the hip. It's a really neat deal. So those two working together. I was texting him last night some pictures of some videos of some of our plays, just talking through the technique of what they're doing, and it's cool to see those two grow together, and these other guys come up and learn how they do it. And Mooney, I think, is just like we said last year. I think he's in store for a big year.
How important is it to have other veterans in that room like Demir and like Marquise to also help with Darnell's?
It's huge because you got a guy like A-Rob who has been in this league for a long time, but he's still young and does it his way. But then you got a guy like Marquise who comes in, and Marquise was I don't know if you all saw, but he was the first guy out yesterday catching balls on the jugs. Very first person out in practice yesterday. And that's not something he just did because it's the first day. He does that all the time. He's a leader in that room. He cares, and he cares about this team and his players. And he's been on winning teams. So that is infectious, and it's a hell of a lot better when it comes from the players than it is when it has to come from coaches, and that's kind of what we're trying to strive for, is let those guys be the leaders and lead by example.
Matt, in your role over the offense, it seems like there's kind of a partnership with the quarterback, different than some of the other positions. How has it changed things for you to have someone like Andy Dalton, who's not a perfect quarterback, but you're not teaching Andy Dalton, you're not bringing him along?
Yeah, no, it is different. As a matter of fact, like when you're calling plays, even in 2 minute yesterday for Andy, there was a series there where we just agreed, hey Andy, you take the 2 minute and you roll and go with the plays you want. And Justin's not at that point yet, not because he can't, but because we want to get in there and we'll give you the call and you go run with it. And we'll get to the point where, Justin, you take a series and call your own, right? But Andy has that experience to be able to do that, feels very comfortable, knows all the whys. And so we did it yesterday for one of the 2-minute series. And when you're calling plays, he comes to the sideline and he might see something or want something a certain way. There's just a little bit more aggressiveness, which is natural, versus a rookie who doesn't necessarily have, all of that to him just yet.
What about as opposed to having a younger starter the last couple of years with Mitch? I mean, you're helping Andy transition to the offense.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there's a lot less explaining and teaching as far as just individually becoming a pro quarterback.
There is, because Andy's done a lot of this stuff in other places where, like we talk about different languages. So he's done that. He just has to transfer it from one language to the next, and then he's done that. We all run the same concepts, right, in the pass game, et cetera. So when you have those concepts, there might be a little tweak here or there. Okay, yeah, I used to do it this way, now I do it this way. I've done it for 10 years. Whereas a rookie comes in, right, with Mitchell, his first year with me, remember we talked about the flight simulator. Throw everything at him, see what he can digest. And he'll learn what plays he likes, and we'll learn what he's good at. And so Andy can already come in and say, I like this concept, I like that concept, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. It's simple because he's done it for 10 years. So with Justin right now, he's trying to figure out where he's at too. Like, what plays does he like, what plays does he not like? And that's where, having a guy like Andy ahead of you, right, to help you do that as a player is very advantageous for Justin.
One more follow-up on that, if you don't mind. It's also the first time you've been in the situation where you have one guy who's very established and then almost a side project trying to bring a fresh rookie in. Have you found that to be basically like 2 jobs?
No, because that's where your coaches come in, and I think Coach Laser and Coach Flip have done a really good job of making sure that, okay, with Andy, we have his situation. With Justin, developing a young guy, we have his situation. And we also have Nick, too, who's in that room, who's been extremely healthy and helpful to those guys, too. So there's a dynamic of, okay, what part of the game are you teaching to Justin to help him get up to speed? And then with Andy, you're probably on a little different level with what you're teaching him, because he's seen a lot of he's on a different level. So we're just there is a little difference in how you coach him, but that's a lot of quarterback rooms right now, and you just gotta, especially with some of these rookies, like in San Fran, it's probably very similar, right? And in New England, it's probably similar. So I think that's our job, is to make sure we develop these guys at their own pace.
Is Flip able to participate virtually right now in
Yes.
what they're doing? Okay.
Yeah, he is, and it's killing him, but he's able to, Flip is like psychotic with fundamentals and like that kind of stuff. Like, Flip lives for one thing. That's individual drills for 15 minutes with those quarterbacks. That's all he cares about in life. And he can't do that right now because he's on a computer, Zoom. So, you're going to see some unbelievable individual drills when he gets back here.
The uncertainty at tackle this year, and also the desire to kind of hit some deeper throws, is there going to be an emphasis on pass pro from the tight ends and the running backs at all this week?
Yeah. What was the first part? I missed
I mean, with the uncertainty at tackle this year, you got a young kid that's supposed to be out over
Yeah.
tackle, and then if Eddie going back to right tackle, perhaps. And you have a desire to hit some deeper throws,
Yeah.
which is going to require a little bit more time. Would there be an added emphasis on pass pro for tight ends and running backs?
Absolutely. That's a big part of it. And regardless of who's just at the tackle positions, it's a lot of times it's who we're playing on defense, right? And so these guys are so fast nowadays on the edges and up the middle that whether you're using a tight end in the A or B gap, or whether you're chipping a running back in A B gap, or a tight end on the edge with some chips, you got to help these guys out, and that's what we're seeing with Khalil and Robert. So, everybody good? All right.
Thanks, man.
Hopefully no surprises today, huh?